Hello, my name is Lydia Loggins, and today I will be discussing or giving my case analysis for Wagner versus Columbia Pictures industry. Wagner was a notable screenplay writer for the TV series Charlie's Angels. Columbia Pictures is a well-known production studio that is owned by Sony and its corporation. It's one of the most well-known production companies in the world, actually. Wagner, who again was a well-known screenplay writer, signed a contract with Spelling Goldberg Productions. This was during the time frame when he was producing these screenplays, and of course the TV show was airing. In the course of its life, Spelling Goldberg sold its company to Columbia Pictures. Columbia Pictures bought the rights bought the copyrights from the original people who had the idea in their family. Therefore, they could produce these movies. Well, of course, the movies were produced. The movies were amazing, actually. They were some of my favorites. Wagner felt like the amount of money that he received from the films was not sufficient for the amount of money that the movies made. He claimed that it was a breach of contract and that he was not properly compensated. Wagner, for his claim, introduced extrinsic evidence claiming that Columbia has made deals with other companies or other individuals and other firms that gives more to the screenplay writer, that gives more towards the person who had something to do with building that franchise up. He even cited his contract, saying that he was entitled to the exploitation of ancillary music subsidiary rights in connection to Charlie's Angels. So he was entitled to more than what he was just due. He was leaning into the ambiguity of that statement, hoping that through producing these other contracts that Columbia has signed with other people, that he can prove that Columbia owes him more. But the judges felt the judgment rendered was actually in favor of Columbia. The judges felt that Wagner's personal connection and his personal interpretation was not fair. It had two major holes in it. The first one was the objective theory of contracts. So that states that someone who is not related to the process should be able to read the contract with clarity and understand what they are reading, and that there is not ambiguity in it. Wagner's contract did not have any ambiguity to it. It stated clear as day. There was no confusion in the wording of the contract. The second thing is that his extrinsic evidence actually violated the parole evidence rule. That basically states that any outside statement or agreements made cannot affect the actual written terms. So what Columbia agreed with other people did not affect the contract that Wagner currently had. Now, what this means is that Wagner actually signed his contract with Spelling Goldberg. Columbia bought Spelling Goldberg. The contract was never changed. When it was initially written, those words were clear and ambiguous, which was Columbia's clear and unambiguous, which was Columbia's defense. Columbia's defense was that the contract stated what it stated. It was clear as day. They understood it. The subsidiary rights that Wagner tried to cite, saying that that was the part that had the most ambiguity in it, the part that he was trying to utilize to get more money, Columbia stated that when it was signed, Wagner and Spelling Goldberg knew what they meant by that statement, they were not expecting their company to be sold. Columbia does not have to honor what they felt if it was not written in that contract. They can't. Wagner cannot go back and change and try to solidify the meaning of that word after the fact, which is what he was doing. That's why his extrinsic evidence was thrown out. That is the impact of this case, actually, is the fact that extrinsic evidence has to be acceptable and useful, meaning that it can't violate the parole evidence rule, and it has to be relevant to the two parties at hand, meaning that both parties are part of that contract. Had Wagner introduced another contract between him and Columbia that defined subsidiary rights, he may have been able to utilize that as a claim for why he was stating why he was underpaid, how he can prove that he was underpaid. But instead, he was using outside evidence that had no relevance to this case, to these two parties. Another way that this case has impacted the entertainment industry is that now subsidiaries are more defined in they're more defined in entertainment contracts. I agree with the judgment rendered because Wagner really wanted to get paid more because he felt like it was unfair enrichment. And because of his feelings due to unfair enrichment, he wanted to change his contract. He found words that made him feel, or he felt like could satisfy a claim and render judgment in his favor. But I'm unsure if he would do the same thing if Charlie's Angels had not made as much money as it did. It very much seems like it was a retaliation, and I'm pretty sure that the judges felt that way too. That it was not about what the contract was written and whether or not it was fair. It was about Wagner feeling that Columbia Pictures had unjustly enriched themselves, which they did not.